by those who came before. The dream of a nation where freedom would endure. The working prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Each generation from
My memories specifically are with my father. How we were raised was, he was the youngest of 11 kids. His father died young. He was 10 years old, and so he instilled upon us, my father was a great man in my eyes. He was very patriotic. He was really all about loyalty, keeping your word, being faithful and loyal to your family, to your friends, not lying. He was just a very good man, and I was very blessed to have that in my life, and that is kind of the foundation of who I am and how my childhood started, and that carried with me through my life. When I was in, I believe it was 9th grade, the Vietnam War was going on, and my dad is a very patriotic person, having all 7 brothers, 7 boys in the family in the service, and his brother was in World War II, and my grandfather was in World War I, and from a very young age, I remember the Vietnam War going on, and I had a POW bracelet and an MIA bracelet, and I would sit on the floor every night. That's something that just my father and I did. And back then we had black and white TV, and it would scroll and scroll and scroll every night with the names of the deceased, those that were killed in action. And that was very profound on me. I would sit on the floor between his legs, and we would watch that every night. And it was just, from that point on, it just was instilled in me the sacrifice that the men and women have given for our freedom, and that was very profound for me. So I joined the Elks, and once I did that, the exalted ruler there came up to me and said, "You, in conversations with you and starting to get to know you, you are very passionate about the veterans and the military, and I'd like you to be the Elks chair here." And that's exactly what my counselor told me to do, is take an opportunity that if you're presented one, and find your passion and start to work that passion. And so that is where all my, from my upbringing with my father and, loving of our troops and the respect for our country, that's exactly how it all started. So I became the Veterans Chair there. And then that led to the American Red Cross Service Armed Forces, the executive director. I met him, I'm not even sure how I met him. It was through divine intervention, I believe. And the person that was a caseworker for him, was a paid position, could no longer do that because the Red Cross didn't have the funds to have that, but they certainly needed someone that could work daily, on a daily basis, taking calls. At that time, it was all through phone and internet, computer, and bring home deployed troops or help the families on emergency cases. I said I was very interested in that. So I began my work as a caseworker / agent. You have to go through several background checks with the government, I believe the Department of Defense, obviously, because the capability that I have is if there's a family member, and it's for us here. If they die over there, the military is going to take care of it, but it's for the families back here. Mom's in the hospital, dad died, your wife's been in a car crash, whatever, and this is just for deployed troops. And so that is part of what we do is you contact this 1-800 number, and we immediately we verify everything to make sure that your mom's just not trying to get her son home from the war, so everything's verified and double verified. And then at that point, we contact the commanding officer. We have the capability to do that in every country in the world. So I would say within an hour to 2 hours at the most, they have that communication with their commanding officer in the country that they're in. It is at that time between the commanding officer and the military, active duty military service member, if they are allowed to come home or not. And then that's where I come in to play, is there's a case, it's thrown in what we call the queue, and it's statewide. I used to have just the region of northern Michigan down to like Midland. Now there's so many, because of what I do is not paid position. Not a lot of people want to do that, and so the caseworkers kept getting limited to fewer and fewer. Now I can cover the whole state. So that's what I do through a government security clearance and a government computer, and everything's encrypted and strict confidentiality. I love doing that. I enjoy doing that for the families, being there for them. It's all under I don't want to say undercover, but nobody knows what I do and nobody knows about it specifically, because it is such a level of security for them and their families. And so I've taken people to the airport. I've picked up active duty members. I've done whatever it needs to be done for the families. I can take a call saying, personally, and then start the case myself with the commanding officer. I've had to call commanding officers all over the world. And there's some sad situations out there. Nothing is good. The only positive ones are birth, which you get to tell them, and that actually happened with my nephew, who was in Afghanistan at the time. So I told his wife, as soon as they were stationed in Hawaii, she came back here, which would be my nephew's wife. She came back here to live with family members, and I said, as soon as you get into Munson and you're admitted, then you can call the number. We'll start the case, and we Skyped the whole birth for him from Afghanistan. So that's a really cool thing that can happen. Other than that, they're pretty somber, hard things. I've done killed in action, helped, assisted in funerals. That is very important for Service Armed Forces caseworker. When you have a local military active duty killed in action, and we've had several here in Traverse City, so I've been involved in all of their memorial services or funerals, being there for the family in every way possible, and going in. There's 2 people allowed in before the funeral, and that's meeting with the family, and that would be the mother becomes a Blue Star mother and goes to a Gold Star mother, and the Gold Star is presented to her in a very somber, professional manner, and then I'm allowed in there as the Service Armed Forces caseworker for that family, and I present to them an American Red Cross blanket with their son's or daughter's name on it. So a couple of those, I've known the mothers, and that has affected me, and I just try to step back a little bit. And anyway, other than that, then that led to another thing, which is Operation Homefront. They contacted me because they wanted to pair up with the Red Cross Service Armed Forces and get toys every Christmas for the active duty military families. So that was a big project that I had for, I don't know, I believe three years in a row. And then now the 182nd Transportation Division, they have that. We're sharing those. So I've usually gave them to our local Coast Guard along with the ham. So every year I do a Coast Guard Christmas. I think I've done that 6 years in a row now. And that's a great way to get to know the commanding officers and the pilots. And so these are, I guess I would call perks for me. I'm not paid. I don't want to be paid. It's boots on the ground work that a lot of people don't understand what goes on. They might see a segment on the news, oh, you know, the Coast Guard got hams or whatever is going on, you know. But there's a lot of groundwork, a lot of hard work that goes behind all that, hours and hours on the phone, and collecting volunteers to help and setting it up, and it's a project. And one year I went to, instead of giving them to the Coast Guard because the commander was there 3 years in a row, I wanted to switch it up. And I found out there was 242 combat veterans at Northwestern Michigan College. So we stepped it up a little bit, and I got donations from members of the Elks. I wrote a letter in the bulletin asking for donations so that I needed about $10,000 so that I could feed these families as like a Christmas holiday meal. So we just lined it up. There was at least 30 or 40 volunteers there, and we had tables at the college, and they all came through and gave every veteran their holiday basket. And it's very heartwarming to see they're so grateful and thankful, and your average veteran is not going to ask for help. So those are other ways. I get a lot of phone calls. They're going to get their heat shut off. They need a washer or a dryer, or you know, their car's broke. And so it's all through networking. So one of the winters I went to Camp Grayling to do this gifting instead of, and so then I became friends with people through Camp Grayling. And then through that, I have been invited back again and again for like the VIP day where the governor or go there, and I got to meet world leaders, and that was very exciting for me. That was like a huge payback for me. It was very, I felt very privileged and honored, and they were thankful for me for what I do, and I was shocked because I was given challenge coins by different commanders in high brass gives out challenge coins normally to other high brass, and here I am, this civilian person, and they're giving me this challenge coin and telling me how thankful they are for what I do for the troops. And that pretty much kind of blew my mind. Like, I'm just this little civilian in Traverse City that loves her troops and her veterans. So in all the things that I'm involved with and in the military, and one of the other issues is that I got elected to go up to Iron Mountain to the VA clinic. I drive up there every three months. That's a federally run VA clinic, and that really opened my eyes in a whole different aspect of, they're mostly Iraq and Afghanistan veterans there. It's a wonderful facility. It's different in the aspect that it's cleaner and healthier than what I've heard about state-run facilities. But the struggles that I see there and the pain in there, so the doors are all color coded, and this is another security clearance to get in there. I just have so much empathy and compassion for these men and women, and I get very frustrated at the average American. I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm not saying, my passion does not have to be your passion, but you're still an American citizen. And how do you think you have your freedoms? You don't have the freedom to say what you want to say against the war, against the, government or whatever, without them fighting for your freedom. You don't have to be for the war. No one's for war, but you should support your troops, because without them, you won't have the freedom. So when I'm up there and I see these men and women in their beds at young ages, with their legs blown off or their arms blown off, a lot of mental PTSD. This is a real thing, and I'm very frustrated with Americans thinking that they're just trying to get another benefit. Really? Their benefits are not worth their lives or their buddy's life. Dealing with killed in action. Okay, the average American gets, I believe it's $400,000 for their life, for losing their spouse with a little child. Really, that's not going to get them far in life. But the average American, I think, or what frustrates me is even locally, and is why are we talking about, dogs and cats need a shelter? Why are we not talking about all those at the VA clinic that have disabilities, true disabilities? Not just mental disabilities, but horrific physical disabilities that I've seen up in Iron Mountain that will never change and that forever change their families' lives, and they become debilitated and they go downhill from the age of 20, 30? That's their life. That they fought for your freedom. And I had someone say to me once, well, they signed up for that. Yes, they signed up to defend the Constitution and they signed up to defend America, but they didn't sign up to, they did sign up knowing that they would get killed, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't respect them and shouldn't respect what they did or that they had that coming to them. So that frustrates me. It frustrates me that we don't have things on the news enough. I think, truly, I think, that's one thing I really like about David Muir, World News Tonight, is he has something great about America every night. There's a segment on there. And a lot of them do include the military. And I don't understand why we don't do that. We have a lot of, okay, if there's 240 combat veterans in Northwestern Michigan College program, which is, by the way, the second top in the nation, why are we not talking to them? Why are we not seeing what we can do as community to help them more? We have all these different branches of people that do help, and I'm not saying the help isn't out there. There's all kinds of organizations. I'm in the Veterans Coalition, so there's 30 organizations just there, and we're all volunteer, that are trying to meet their needs. But there needs to be more in your face, I believe, in the community or in the public in general, for knowledge of what is going on over there. There's people that don't even know where we're at or that we are in a war. We're still in Afghanistan? Oh, we're back in Iraq? So this is very frustrating to me, and it's usually comes around the feel good, I call it, the feel good time, when at Christmas you'll see televised troops saying hello to their families back home, or people think of them, the general public thinks of them during the holidays, because that's a family time off, that's normal. But what about the other 364 days a week, of the year where they're over there and need help, and their families are back here struggling, or your neighbor, get to know a veteran, get to know an active duty member, and help their family. be there for them. I just think there needs to be more knowledge on to the community as to the real struggle, and I think that would be a really good story, is to find a veteran that the real struggle, or the real struggle of an active duty member deployed, and what is his family going through. One of the things that is very important that I'd like to focus on is Gold Star families. So Gold Star family means that your son or daughter was in the service, active duty, and was killed in action, and then you became a Gold Star mother, father, family. Their biggest fear is that their son or daughter will be forgotten. And there's about 5 local Gold Star families I work with that I'm pretty close to. I bring them all together for Christmas every year for them to join together. They don't particularly reach out to one another, and their biggest fear is that their son or daughter that died for your freedom will be forgotten. Because let's say they're killed in 2012 or 14. Here we are a few years later, and they want their legacy to be remembered. So that is very important to them, therefore very important to me. And I think it is easy for everyone, oh yeah, I remember when he was killed, but that's as far as people go. And they're still in pain. I'm not saying they haven't moved on, but their pain of losing a child. And then every time I know of a family that, there were 7 Marines killed in one chopper crash. And they are so connected together, but they've all moved on with their lives and live in different places. And they're just, it's sad to me that something that significant, just like anyone being killed, can just, it's just part of natural life probably that we forget about them, but I think it's part of my job to help keep their memory active. And I try to do that for these Gold Star families, is to go to these, swim for this Navy SEAL that lost his life, or this event for one of our local sergeants that was killed in Afghanistan. Every year there's and it's televised. Come to his, celebrate his birthday at the, where he's buried here. And each year lesser and lesser and lesser people come. And it's just sad to me that that they're not forgotten, but just, life goes on, and they remember and they live it every day, but we don't. And I just try to remember every day to be thankful and keep up on current news. I think that's important that we know. That's one thing my father taught me, even as a single mom, when I was busy working, sometimes 2 jobs, and didn't know what was going on. He said, you need to keep up with what's going on in the world. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of troops all over the world. Some places that you don't know, and for national security, we aren't going to know. But people just need to care more. They need to understand and find out where they're at, and then how can I help?
For those who think they have nothing to share, who feel in their hearts there is no hero there, know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation that will never die. Let them save me. I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through America.